we owe our dear friend Will Minio, who worked with Larry for 30 years.
Yes.
And was a major part in setting the tone and the focus and everything creative about this show. We owe him, there were two reasons that we stuck with the Sentinels. One was he understood that they were an image of humanity, distrust of mutants, and that's where we all wanted to focus. There are a bunch of the books where it's just supermassive being battling other supermassive being at the WWE. So there are a lot of books. I mean, that's fun, and you're a kid, you enjoy reading those. But there are other sections of the books over the 30 years we had to pick from that is much more about how do you live as a mutant in this larger society that doesn't quite understand you and is afraid of you. And the Sentinels were the perfect incarnation of that. He chose them because there was a story he really liked about learning the X-Men through the eyes of a new recruit, a young new recruit, which I agreed, Mark Edens, who wrote the pilot, and I agreed with completely. So the Sentinels were crucial for that, to set the tone for the series. There is a bit of a story. There was someone at Marvel, an executive who I never met, but after we'd finished setting up this world, we just killed ourselves for about a month, set up the world, finished the first script, and we got this 8-page memo saying, oh, you guys got it completely wrong. Magneto's more important than the Sentinels. Throw all this stuff out, start from scratch. You know, some of your characters are okay, but basically you screwed it, so do this over, please. And it wasn't our main guy at Marvel, so I was like, why is this guy writing us an 8-page memo? And does he have the power to shut us down? Because we got it on a Friday, and there were no cell phones, no internet. We were faxing angrily at each other. And we thought, is the show over? Has someone in Marvel decided that no, we can do something completely different? And luckily, our buddy Will not only knew the books better than this guy did, but he had 20 years in animation and knew that our story fit animation perfectly, and that's why we chose the Sentinels to be the ongoing threat in the first season. We introduced Magneto in episode 3. That was real quick because he's important, but that was the Sentinels were crucial to start the story with.
Do you mind if I add to that a little bit?
Sure.
I was kind of a mind, because that's how it was in the book, that Magneto happens first and he's the reason that the Sentinels are built. And so I was like, well, it should be Magneto first. And Eric, I think, his counterintuitive approach was exactly right, because whereas Magneto is the most famous threat to the X-Men, he is by no means their biggest threat. The biggest threat of all their villains, of Apocalypse and whoever else, their biggest threat is bigotry. The fact that they're in a world that hates and fears them. And the reason they're such incredible heroes, and they're enduring, they are sworn to protect a world that hates and fears them. So entering with the prejudice and entering with the Sentinels was counterintuitive, and it was brilliant, and it was exactly right. It's one of the reasons I think Eric was perfect to spearhead the series, because I've been reading the books ever since Giant Size X-Men #1, and I was beholden to all the stories, because the stories weren't stories, they were history. And Eric wasn't invested that way, so coming in with the objectivity that he did gave him the power to make this series its own thing and bring in a brand new audience for whom it was all very fresh, which I'm sure pretty much everybody here was the case. So I'm really grateful that they picked Eric, and that they didn't get, like a Mr. Fanboy like me who'd be so beholden to the books. So bravo to Fox and bravo to Eric. And that's it.